It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Yes, welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast, breaking down for you the property market. It is your weekly window into Australian real estate and the last day of March. I love tomorrow, the 1st of April. You can't beat pulling a prank on someone, all in good fun. And today is Tuesday, March the 31st, and good morning if you are listening in Tasmania this morning, where there's a real affordability issue emerging in Tasmania's rental market right now. New data from REA Group yesterday shows that typical household earnings of around over $90,000 can only afford about 19% of available rentals. It is the lowest share in the country. And for lower income households, well, you might as well forget it. It's so tough that they have access to virtually nothing. Where are they going to move to? In Hobart, rents have climbed close to 10% over the past year, which is why we're seeing household earnings of over 90 grand can only afford about 19%. That is very dire. That is very concerning. And if you're in Tasmania, let us know if you are looking at trying to get into a rental, how you are finding the market. You can either leave a voice message or you can email us at myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you on that issue. Let's right now take you off to Dubai. We're going to catch up with Dana Lewis, who works in real estate. But prior to that, Dana was a news reporter for Canadian television and also NBC television in America. He was also embedded with combat troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Dana, welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning. First off, have you ever been to Australia?
I haven't. I've traveled and worked out of 55 countries. One of the big gaps, I think, is that I got to get to Australia. So this is as close as I can get right now.
Well, Australia will be here when you are ready to fly out of the UAE. Your story, as I mentioned, it's an interesting one because you gave away the news reporting going into these war-torn countries years ago, which was, let's face it, extremely dangerous work. You moved to the UAE because you're involved in real estate. And then suddenly in the UAE, bombs are dropping from Iran. You are back literally to where you started from and probably looking through a lens from both sides.
You know, Craig, it's a biggest surprise to me that I would have thought that being a war correspondent and being a real estate broker in Dubai, suddenly those talents would somehow, run in parallel and complement one another because, I actually had missiles and drones exploding overhead when I was in Dubai. And I thought, I got away from all this.
Exactly. I mean, nobody expected it. And for that reason, no doubt everybody that knows you has probably been calling you for a reaction.
Yeah, my mother first telling me to get out of there. But actually, I think Dubai, like many people, has been very safe in the sense that they've been able to intercept, 95% of the incoming. And we've seen that really dropping off, right? I mean, in the last, especially 10 days, we went from a few hundred missiles and drones to, a handful of missiles and drones. But, even one is enough to disrupt the market, cause anxiety, and it's something that cannot go on. And that's why you have the UAE, surprisingly though, Craig, not saying, let's get this stopped right now. They're saying, like Saudi Arabia is taking a much longer view and saying, this can't end with ambiguity. This has to be solved once and for all with Iran. And some very surprising comments coming out of the UAE, even from the UAE ambassador, who has done a Wall Street Journal editorial now, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, go on, because I know that you've got some comments around that.
Well, it's just a surprising article because a lot of people think that the UAE sees this conflict differently than America does. But in fact, they echo a lot of what the U.S. administration says about removing the threat once and for all. So here he says, Youssef Utaba says, quote, "We want Iran as a normal neighbor. It can be reclusive and even unwelcoming, but it can't attack neighbors, blockade international waters, or export extremism. Building a fence around the problem and wishing it goes away isn't the answer. It would simply defer the next crisis." And that's so important what he's saying, because the UAE doesn't want to go through this, and the whole region, the Gulf region, doesn't want to go through this in another 5 years or another 6 years or 8 years. They want it done. So they want the threat removed from Iran. And so that's when they're talking about similar things that the U.S. does in terms of regime change, the elimination of the nuclear program, and capping on long-range ballistic missile program.
Yeah, it is a fine balance for the UAE and other Gulf countries, and many Aussies have made Dubai home. The real estate market there has literally been on fire since COVID. You know, people are finding better values for their property buying in Dubai. You have the exchange rate of Aussie dollars earning a lot more once you convert your dollars into dirhams. And there is no tax on your income. How good is that? It has been the land of opportunity. However, lots of concerned parents and friends of people who left Australia over 5 years ago to take up residence there in Dubai are concerned with good reason. But the market is uncertain now. Aussies in Dubai are weighing up, should they come back to Australia? How do you sell in this current market? And there is this anxiety leading to the market being looked at in a completely different way.
They're uncertain, and you inject uncertainty into the marketplace, and people pull back. And there's a lot of anxiety, both in Dubai, where I'm getting all sorts of notes from people, what do I do with this off plan? Can I get out of it now? I'm scared of the situation. Should I be panicking? Do I go forward with planned investments? And when you inject all that uncertainty into the marketplace, it doesn't kill the market. It doesn't collapse the market. It freezes the market. And I think that's what we're seeing now. A lot of people frozen in decision-making, not sure how long it's going to go on and whether they should pull back or proceed. The answer tends to be, I'm going to wait. And like Justine, I think there's a lot of people who will wait, and that will affect the market, right? Because these big developers in the off plan, 70% of the market is off plan. So if you remove the off plans from the market, or, okay, let's not say remove, but if you throttle back on the number of people investing, which surely we're seeing, that's going to affect the Dubai market and the UAE in a very big way. And then you have a lot of people who, are feeling some financial pressure, are worried about being overly exposed on their inventory. And I think, Craig, everybody is measuring that 4-letter word, risk.
And we are talking to Dana there in the UAE in Dubai. We'll have more after this.
We dive deep into topics like buying, selling, investing, and maximising your property's value. From mortgage advice to the latest property data and trending numbers. Your real estate journey starts here.
And right now it's time to go to South Perth and to James, who has got another 30-second property tip for us this morning. Good morning, James. What have you got?
Craig, my tip this morning is for property buyers, home buyers in particular, that are looking to move into a place that they buy. And, it's easy to become a bit confused and a little bit nervous about the narrative that's going on in the market. My advice is, if you find a home that you like and you can afford it, then you should buy it. There's no point in waiting, particularly if you're going to stay in that home for an extended period of time.
Listen to expert perspectives with exclusive real estate conversations and supercharge your knowledge base with us.
I think one of the other key parts to this is that over the last few days, some of these international experts on the Gulf and what has happened in the past, they've been asked the direct question, who is winning this? Is the US or Iran winning this war? And they're all saying the same thing. Iran has the upper hand, which is why you're getting these comments of, let's finish this for once and for all, otherwise this is going to come back.
I think the only reason anybody says Iran has the upper hand is because they continue to fire missiles and drones and threaten the region and cause chaos in Israel. So if they're able to hold out, the Iranian regime sees that as some kind of victory. But is it? And I think we'll only know in the next few weeks. And they're saying that as you have U.S. troops steaming into the region, the 82nd Airborne, the 2 Marine Expeditionary Units, what are they going to do? Are they going to take Karg Island, which exports 90% of Iranian oil and gas? Are they going to land near the Strait of Hormuz? This is really, we're still in early stages of this playing out. Israeli commanders say that we're only halfway through it. It's only President Trump who, 1 minute says it's almost over and the next minute says we're going to, bomb the hell out of them and continue. So there isn't a lot of clarity, let's face it. And the Iranians can claim what they want, but we don't know who America's talking to right now. President Trump has not been clear on who is currently involved in the negotiations. We don't know how it ends. And it's so important how long it goes, because that will determine how much market damage there is in the Gulf in terms of supply chains, the property market that I work in. And we don't know how it ends in terms of, is there a real deal? Is the threat eliminated once and for all? Or does Trump get cold feet and say, hey, I'm going to declare victory, pull out? And that's why you have European nations like NATO saying, we're not going to police the Strait of Hormuz, because there is so little trust in what is coming out of the White House.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mentioned on Saturday that we've experienced this huge surge of new listeners from around the world. They're concerned. They want to stay informed. That's the tone of what is coming through. And your phone, your email, no doubt, you've heard from plenty of people.
Yeah, we hear from so many people. My main platform is Instagram, and just a lot of people asking about specific projects, specific investments they've made. And Craig, I don't think our job is to promote the market. It's really to deliver the straight goods on information so that people can make good decisions, right? And I think that's what I try to do. Shoot from the hip and be straight. Don't be negative. Don't be positive. Just give people information so that they're able to make decent decisions about investing. And you have to, incredibly now, inject their personal safety into decision making as well.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. That'll do us on our Tuesday morning. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast. Good luck in the UAE as you not only hope for the best, but also sell a bit of real estate.
Sure. Well, at least advise. I don't necessarily have to sell, but I think people really need us right now. That's consoling, and I find a real positive environment in that. Pleasure to talk to you, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Don't forget to subscribe. We have so many episodes, all designed to help you better understand the constantly evolving and dynamically changing real estate property market.
Now, we have 3 different markets in Cronulla: North, Central and South. All 3 areas have luxury apartments, but buyers are very specific as to which area they generally require. We are lucky enough to have some of the highest level of award-winning builders throughout Australia are located in the Shire.
It is one of the only Sydney beach suburbs with direct train access to the CBD. How significant is that, do you think, for Cronulla?
Craig, that is very significant. I'm always asking buyers, what brings you to Cronulla? Have you got family here? And a couple said to me only a couple of years ago, Cronulla is the only beachside suburb with a railway line. Where the apartments are located, you can just easily walk into cafes, restaurants, clubs. So it's a real lifestyle area.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.